Hello, literary scholars. In this video, I kind of want to introduce our next unit or module, that is poetry. And definitely like to give students, at least 24 hours or so to kind of decompress after submitting the fiction essay, because now we're going to continue that literary exploration, and we're going to do that through poetry. So really, basically, for the remainder of this week, all I'm asking is folks, please not just go to the discussion, but please work your way through each one of these pages. So here I kind of just outline the objectives, obviously, and then just talk about, maybe for some of us, maybe we're familiar with poetry, maybe we took poetry in high school, maybe some of us write poetry, but maybe for some of us, this is brand new. Also, next week, I'm going to actually introduce poems that we're going to be examining as a class. So as you go through the exploration of poetry, and especially thinking about your meta engagement with the short stories, and even when I met with folks, many of you were talking about having to go back and reread the story, or some of our one-on-ones really unpacking on a deeper level. So whether you took notes on the short stories or not, I would really challenge you to kind of have a poetry journal so you can really track it. And then in the same sense that the literary toolbox where we talked about like plot, setting, imagery, character, like all these symbolisms, we're going to build on that. So we're still going to use that toolbox, but now we're going to add some more tools about the different elements of poetry. So please don't feel like this is cumbersome or overwhelming. It can be. So what I have here is just kind of outlining the different layers of looking at poetry. Then I have a discussion here, and then especially in this discussion, I'm asking you to use your meta and building on those pages is really think about whether you want to write in question form or in paragraph form. Is really like what is all this stuff? Like really kind of understanding and kind of flushing out your understanding of poetry. And then for this discussion post, there's no word count, but definitely, push yourself, whether you just want to strictly answer all 10 questions or whatever you want to do. But I want you to further your development of critical thinking and continue your development of understanding literary devices. In this case, we're going to explore poetry. And then the same thing is like in your follow-ups is engage maybe a couple questions or kind of challenge or push, support your classmates' initial post. And then I have two other pages of kind of summarizing, and then it's an example of analyzing a poem. And I just ask that folks actually look at 8.9 and 8.10, really maybe after you do your initial discussion post. So to kind of recap, please work through these pages, start a poetry journal, whether you want to do it in a Google Doc, a Word doc, or old school pen and paper or notepad. And then just really kind of work to take notes and understand these different elements of poetry. Do your discussion, initial post, then kind of look at this idea, because this is just a summary of summarizing all these, and then kind of an example on actually analyzing a poem. And then next week, I'll actually introduce the poems that we'll be using to analyze. All right, happy literary exploring, folks.